In almost anything that happens in our life, we get to choose which story to believe. And the choice that we make is going to be a function of, to whom do we assign credit, to whom do we assign blame? How much size do we attribute to the negative? How much size do we attribute to the positive? How permanent do we view the negative? How temporary do we view the negative? How permanent do we view the positive? How temporary do we view the positive? We have these choices to make in every single thing that happens in our lives, and every single decision that we make in our business, and every single point of evidence that we analyze from our past in helping us make a decision about what we do in our business. And here's where I end up with this a lot of the times. I just end up confused. Like, what am I supposed to do with all this? All the certainty has just been ripped out from under me. Suddenly, this theory says I don't really know anything and I just have to choose? Then I have to choose the meaning of every single piece of evidence and then try to assimilate that into a larger meaning so that I can make a decision? This is no way to live. This is crazy. So we go back to making assumptions and just going with our gut, right? And now we start to see, well, that's actually why all these assumptive patterns and these neural pathways, which are really quick ways of getting from a stimulus to a decision without actually having to think about it, and without actually having to challenge the assumptions that are underlying our decision about how to feel and how to think and how to act. Why this evolved the way that it did is because it's too cumbersome to go through life trying to think logically, rationally, having to assemble a jury of 12 of our peers to render a verdict on every choice that we need to make in life about what to have for lunch. It's just too difficult to live that way. So I would suggest it's not important that you start paralyzing yourself into inaction by overanalyzing every decision. That's not what I'm advocating here. What I'm advocating is an awareness of these tendencies and a way of logically looking at how we make decisions, and in order, and trying to find patterns, because if we tend to operate from a place of fear, if we tend to feel limited, or we tend to always be erring on the side of safe, you try to find the patterns. Fear is not my pattern. I have that pretty strongly ingrained belief that when I'm scared, I need to act, right? I need to leap, I need to bound forward. That's just sort of my default setting. But I struggle with some other things that I don't have time or the emotional stamina to go into right now. But I have some pretty limiting patterns and ways that I do things. And so what I really endeavor to do with this is just try to create an awareness of why I would fall into those patterns, identify the patterns, and then figure out, just be on guard for appropriate times to intervene on yourself, right? Because a lot of times you only have to they say life always comes down to one decision, right? And life is just a series of decisions. Everybody's always talking up the importance of decisions. Well, if that's true, you can apparently make a pretty monumental shift in your life a lot of times just by changing one decision, which means you don't have to do this about every decision. You just have to figure out one decision in your life that matters and do this one time. And you can have a completely different life. Because we all agree it would probably be too laborious to do this about every decision we ever have to make, right?